In this video, I'll show you how the output of your Java code for assignment 1 should look like. So remember in the instructions there, we said there will be two versions of the book you have to develop. So one version will be a general book, namely a book of objects. And the second version would be a generic book using the generic parameter. So both versions should behave exactly the same, which means the output should always be the same. So now let's just demonstrate the first version, the general book. So if you launch the program, it's going to look like a console application. You can either add a record, you can remove a record, you can get the record of a particular name if it exists, and you can also find all the names whose records are the same, are actually the same as the one you're looking for. And also you can print the name record pair in the alphabetically sorted order of the names. And also you can try to see what's the current binding. Binding here means the implementation strategy you adopt for your book. So it can be either the one array implementations or it can be the two array implementations. So either one. And you can also change in between the two. So the default strategy would be the two array implementation. You can also exit from the application. So let's see. Initially, if you just say print, your program is going to say currently there are no records stored in the book. Okay, and then if you say current binding, by default it's going to be 2. And if I say change the binding, it's going to say 1 for this and 2 for that. If I say, because by default it's actually 2, so I would like to change to 1. Okay, so now if I say current binding again, it's going to say 1. So now we're going to run the birthday book application using the one array implementation. Okay, for example, if you type any command that's not valid, your program should say error. It's not a valid command. Okay, so now we're in the one array implementation there. Let's say at Alan October 15. If you say print, it's going to be October 15 for Alan. And let's say at another one, Jonathan, July 14th. If I print, you can see Jonathan has been inserted after Alan simply because J alphabetically occurs later than A. Okay, let's just try another one. Let's say at David, let's say September 24th. And if you print, you can see David has been inserted in between Alan and Jonathan. Okay, simply because that's the correct sorting order. One more. At Mary, let's say she happens to be born on the same day as Alan, October 15th. So now you would see Mary here in the last of the list. Okay, so now you can certainly get the birthday of a person. Let's say the person doesn't exist. You have to say no record of assignment is found. Okay, if you want to get the birthday of David, it's going to say the corresponding birthday. Okay, you can also try to find the all the people who were born on this particular date. You can say, what about just some date that doesn't really exist? 5th of May, let's say. Then you would say no one was born on that particular date. And let's say you want to find, so now what about October 15th? In this case, both Alan and Mary were born on that particular date. Okay, let me just print again. Okay, let's say I want to remove David from the database. So you would say remove and then David. Okay, print again. You can see David is gone. But if I say remove, but let's say Simon, he doesn't really exist. So you would say no record of Simon is found. Okay, so we have seen add, remove, get, find, and print. So now let me say one more thing. If you say print now, you can see now we have Alan, Jonathan, Mary. Okay, if I say current binding here, it's actually 1. Let me switch to binding number 2. So now current binding is simply 2. But now if I print out the contents here, it remains the same, which means whenever you switch the strategy from 1 to 2 or 2 to 1, you should always copy over all the contents from the one array implementation to the two array implementations, or vice versa. You should not start just from scratch from an empty database. You should really copy over the existing database so you can go on from there without any stop. Okay, so now I think that's pretty much I would like to say about this program here. So you should really think about more test cases for yourself. If you got any concern, you should really raise that in the class or send me an email about clarification. Okay, finally, if you say exit, it's going to say bye to terminate the application.